Another lawsuit has been filed in connection with the Social Gloves event. Austin McBroom is getting sued again, this time by FaZe Jarvis. In what feels like every fighter on the card's chance of knocking out Austin in the courtroom, Jarvis is his next opponent. My concern for all of the fighters is Austin's liquidity because he is in multiple $1 million of debt even before the legal fees. Considering he's now facing many lawsuits all at once, I don't know how the fighters are going to get paid. Based on what I've seen, Austin owes multiple millions to fighters of the first event, and the lawsuits include pretty clear agreements between Austin and the fighters. Austin's lawyer probably bought his family a new mansion from all of the billable hours. This lawsuit by FaZe Jarvis includes 6 claims mostly involving breach of contract and fraud. FaZe Jarvis fought Michael Lee in the first Social Gloves event. Despite the financial setback experienced by Jarvis, he had a good night during the fight.
Look at, oh my body.
Whenever your name is in a headline like this, FaZe Jarvis nearly knocks Michael Lee out of the ring with brutal knockout at Battle of the Platforms. You know you had a good night. The key for McBroom was to entice event participants with large numbers of online followers. In turn, these followers would be attracted to an event which gave top billing to Austin McBroom. The boxing craze is here to stay because who doesn't want to see the top influencers in the ring against each other? And to have the reach of the top influencers means you may be able to attract an entirely new audience from being the fighter in the main event. Austin hired an executive producer for the fight named Paul Kazers, who claims to be a deal maker at the entire entertainment industry, can bring deals offers to any celeb in the world on his LinkedIn. He was featured on 60 Minutes when he was with CAA as an expert in the influencer space.
Do they make too much for what they do?
Absolutely not. They're the new rock stars with a bigger audience than old Hollywood ever had a chance to access. When they take a video or a picture and push a button on their phone, immediately disseminated to millions of people across the planet. That level of access is unprecedented.
The first big smoking gun in the lawsuit alleges Austin incorporated the Simply Greatness Productions LLC in the state of Delaware to take advantage of the ability to be an anonymous owner of a company. Austin's dad, Alan McBroom, and their attorney suggested that ownership of the LLC be transferred to Kazers on the day of a significant contract signing. If they transferred ownership to Kazers, then they could show the prospective fighters that the operator of the event was a legitimate influential agent in the influencer space and not the McBrooms. Included in the complaint was one of the first promotional posters for the Social Gloves event. Kevin Hart was featured as the host. Given his celebrity status, his brand being attached lent a lot of credibility to this new event. The only problem was that McBroom never approached Hart directly for the project. McBroom knew that Kevin Hart would be out of the country during the event. The first promotional poster, labeled the largest pay-per-view event in history, included a list of top social media influencers on YouTube and TikTok, with a pretty remarkable section dedicated to the potential reach of the event. I'm still undecided on Austin's inability to understand reality. Is he insanely confident that he can run the largest pay-per-view event in history, or was he aggrandizing his brand and ability to run a successful event? The by the numbers section includes a potential reach of 393 million people from the total follower counts tallied from the first set of possible fighters. The projected pay-per-view streams of 10 million is quite impressive, considering the Tyson-Roy Jones Jr. fight sold between 1.2 and 1.6 million just a few months later and was considered the highest selling pay-per-view event of the year. This Tapology chart lists out the top pay-per-view events in the history of MMA and boxing, an obvious close competitor to the Social Gloves event. Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather have carried the two combat sports to their highest selling nights. If you remove Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, who are the biggest combat fighting draws of my lifetime, very few events have ever sold 1 million pay-per-views. So for Austin McBroom to pitch that they were projected to sell 10 million pay-per-views was just a little bit of a fantasy. Austin anticipated $500 million in revenue for the event. What investor wouldn't want to put money into this jackpot? James Harden and Lil Baby were the two main investors in the event, advancing $2 million with the promise of being in first position to recoup plus an additional 10% of adjusted gross revenue. If Austin's fantasy were to become reality and the event made $500 million, then their investment would have been as good as buying Bitcoin in May 2017. Jarvis was offered $1,025,000 with $25,000 being paid up front and the rest following the event. Because the total agreed upon amount owed to fighters would be $5 million, some of them wanted first position to ensure they got paid. So, under the cloak of confidentiality provisions in each agreement, SGP secretly agreed to first priority provisions for at least 3 fighters, its executive producer, and its primary investor, unbeknownst to plaintiff. In case you aren't following along, first position can only be given to one person. It means the first to get paid from the profit. It's obviously the most valuable position to be in because you recoup your money first. Since some of you are interested in learning real estate, the first position is what lenders take when you buy a house because they are the first person to get paid when you sell the property. Unless you don't pay your property taxes, then the county pops in first. Live by Live became the streaming partner and put together a marketing plan to reach a goal of 2.2 million pay-per-views. Social Gloves was only $50, which is a little bit of a discount compared with normal boxing pay-per-view, so we're not comparing apples to apples entirely, but remember 1 million pay-per-view buys is very difficult to achieve. Austin in Live by Live expecting 2 million to 10 million buys was a little far-fetched, even considering the potential reach of all the fighters. Jackie Stone, Live by Live's chief marketing officer, went on record with McBroom warning that his strategy will not generate any more than 200,000 pay-per-view sales. McBroom pointed to all the impressions the event was generating. A fallacy I think a lot of influencers have is the belief that views, followers, or subscribers mean sales, and that couldn't be further from the truth. The Social Gloves event was a harsh lesson that fans willing to pay for your event are a lot different than fans watching some free content. Paul Kazers, the producer of the event, left a voicemail for Austin and Alan saying he felt like they were running some sort of Ponzi scheme. In a sense it was, because they were luring investors and talent based on false profit claims just like a Ponzi scheme would. Here's the third mention of the event selling 136,000 pay-per-views, which leads me to believe that this is the accurate number. If all tickets were purchased for $50, then the event generated $6.8 million in revenue. Where that money went is still a mystery.
The fighters will be paid before the next event. The Social Gloves 2 is coming very soon, as you all know.
The first time I saw Austin promoting a potential second Social Gloves event, I knew it was to make enough money to be able to pay back the fighters from the first event. It had to be tough for FaZe Jarvis knowing that he was owed $1 million while Austin was hosting a second Social Gloves event. The complaint lists out Jarvis's follower count of 13 million across all of social media, 6.51 million on YouTube, 2.9 million on TikTok, 2.2 million on Instagram, and 700K on Twitter. The FaZe clan touts that it has 510 million followers across their entire roster, and that Jarvis was one of the more popular members. Considering all the impressions the fighters would have on their social medias leading up to the fight, seeing the event only sell somewhere in the ballpark of $7 million in total revenue for a really cool sporting event was underwhelming. On another occasion prior to Plaintiff agreeing to participate in the event, Austin McBroom said, "I'm going to promote like a champion." Austin McBroom further stated, "We will fully leverage the Ace Family YouTube channel." Events like this could generate 1 million pay-per-view buys, no doubt, if the fighters promote the event well enough and they make it a little more affordable. $50 per is a little high considering the audiences are young. Catherine McBroom was also going to promote the event on her Instagram and Snapchat. Austin McBroom's whole power as a marketer was his YouTube channel, but he only did one video. I will always have respect for people trying, but there's a fine line between realistic expectations and fraudulently coercing people into fighting for a massive payday when the massive payday was just a pipe dream. $500 million gross revenue, come on, man. And lying about having Kevin Hart attached to the event when you hadn't even spoken to him about it makes it fraud. Since the event involved a bunch of young, sweaty TikTok dudes, James Charles being there was never in question. I thought this addendum was really interesting because it appears that Austin and FaZe agreed to a promotional schedule for other members of FaZe. K, Adapt, and 8 other members of the crew were contracted to post about the events on their social media pages. On the surface, considering how many big influencers would be promoting this event, you would think that they would have been able to outsell Jake Paul or a mid-tier UFC card or boxing event, but they didn't. Here's Jarvis's contract showing he would be owed $1 million for participating in the fight. I think this next clip from the 60 Minutes bit about influencers is really interesting.
So you just make this up on the fly?
Yeah, and like if someone has an idea, it's like, yeah, let's see, let's run with it, you know?
When he posted the ad, it was viewed more than 7 million times. For one day's work, Logan Paul was paid almost $200,000.
I had no idea Logan was getting paid $200,000 for a single integration in a video. Knowing how much brands are willing to pay the A-list influencers makes me wonder why the Social Gloves event didn't sell better. Back to Jarvis. Summer 2021 was a rough time for him following his knockout victory over Michael Lee because he didn't get paid the $1 million owed to him, and then he was exposed as being a crucial member in the Save the Kids crypto token scam. Maybe if Austin paid Jarvis the $1 million, Jarvis wouldn't have been interested in participating in a crypto pump and dump scam. The world will never know. Thanks for watching.